It's not me taking 10% of an artist to do a thing. It's like
Jesse Kirschbaum.
Jesse Kirschbaum.
Be talking to someone with a big voice and a big name.
I live at the intersection of music, brand partnerships, and technology. My agency is really focused on helping brands make deeper, meaningful connections to their consumers by leveraging the power of music.
You've done it all, right? Like you've been an agent, you've worked with brands, you get all these things. What is success to you?
success would be, right? If you're not getting better a little bit every single day, you're getting worse.
The pain has to happen.
Every door is open to you. You can get the White House on the phone like that. Like there's nobody that's not taking your call. The key to success that I've learned is...
I hope you're enjoying this episode of You Versus You. If these conversations are inspiring you and are bringing value to your life, please make sure to subscribe, join the community, and don't forget to share with anyone who you think needs to hear this. Thank you for supporting the show. Now let's get back to our episode. Jesse, let's get right to it. AI made me fall in love with God. Talk to me about that.
In this AI world where everywhere you look, AI is omnipresent and people are continuing to just like pump out content with AI and it's your thought partner and it's moving the stock market and you're using AI to vibe code, and AI just feels like everywhere I turn in marketing, in music, in culture, AI is present and just making an impression and making an impact and kind of taking over people's minds. It's just overwhelming how much content and synthetic content's coming. And it's like people are telling me, oh, I used AI and I wrote poetry and now I have godlike flow. And another person, I was in the studio with will.i.am, and he was explaining to me, he's brilliant, and he's explaining to me how he has created this AI and the AI is analyzing his dreams. And then the dreams are now being created into a play or a movie, and AI is doing all of that. And I'm just looking at him and saying, that's where you've lost me. In this world where there's so much noise and there's so much content, authenticity becomes such an important thing and such a powerful frequency. I just continue to hear that authenticity resonates more. I'd rather hear you have the crackle in your voice. I'd rather see you slip. I'd rather see you be human than perfect. And in this AI world, the more I want to be is authentic. So how do I actually write the poetry, not have AI write the poetry? And I'm trying to get to my truest authentic self. And that is the God flow. So what this AI boom has created is, I think, more a need to tap into authenticity. What I want to do is just connect deeper to God. And AI reminds me of that while everybody's pumping this content out. But then the question is, how do I tap into God, right? What does that connection to God mean? I grew up traditionally and culturally Jewish, but like going to temple and hearing Hebrew doesn't, make me feel closer to God. Organized religion in general doesn't make me feel closer to God. So then I'm like, well, how do I feel a God flow? And so I realized that like it comes to me through meditation, which really changed my life, changed my whole path in my career. But meditation, the ocean, which we've got here in Miami, and it's beautiful. And every time I go see it, it reminds me, it connects me. Being around spiritual people, talking about real things, real authentic things. Psychedelics can have a place in connecting to God, studying and understanding different forms of connection to God, being in flow, being in rhythm. Like that's the goal of I think, a creator.
Why do you think that meditation and the ocean create that sinking moment within yourself and God?
Different reasons. Meditation, when I was like an agent, my background was representing artists. And when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I looked a lot older than I do at this stage in my life because I was just like, every day is kill or be killed. The artist representation business is a very challenging business. Golden rule of management is not if you're going to be fired, it's when. And it's just a very hard business as an agent, indie agent. I was representing all these artists and I just thought like every day I'm in the concrete jungle. And my friend was like, whoa, you sound like you need therapy, but really you'll gain from meditation. And I was like, well, what's this meditation thing? So this is 10 years ago. I started meditating. First went to therapy, like he had suggested. And after about 6 months of working through some of my thoughts, then he said, you're ready. And I started to study from meditation. And it's a simple technology. It's very easy. It's mantra based. It's 20 minutes, twice a day. And as you start to do that consistently and you start to open up your mind and just think about nothing, you start to connect to the universe, and then things start to fall into place. You start to, feel aligned with the divine and transcend. And I started to realize I don't want to represent artists. And I rebranded my company and I started representing brands. And it just allowed me to be so much more creative and be as big as my ideas and really step into my own. And I credit meditation so much for just allowing myself to feel the rhythm of the world. The ocean's a different one. The ocean, I'm a Cancer, I'm a water sign. I just love the ocean. If you look at it, it's so infinite. It's so hard to think about. It just makes my mind go both directions. When I think about the ocean, or I look at the ocean, or I sit by the ocean, it just feels so vast and abundant. It just brings me to an infinite possibility.
I love that. And hearing you talk about switching from being a manager to brands, right? I think any manager at some point starts feeling like, what am I doing to myself? What was that trigger point for you? What was the moment? Was it something that was a buildup over time, or it was just like you woke up one day and said, I'm done. I'm going to now be in the service business, but in a different way where I'm not, in the roller coaster of somebody else's up and down, right? Because I think one of the hardest things about being a manager is you're emotionally dealing and carrying somebody else's way, their own problems, their own ideas of the world. And you have to, even when it sometimes against your own moral code, sometimes you have to position the client in a place where they can feel comfortable, even at the exchange of your own peace. So was there a moment that just said, that's it, Jesse, you have to get out of this?
It was not necessarily a moment. It was a, 10-year illustrious career of finding and developing artists in a really early stage in their life, and then helping them to break and connect to management, to connect to labels. I was the booking agent, but I was doing so much more. And I just felt so creative. But as the artists would get bigger and more successful, the role of the booking agent just kept getting more diminished, and you keep getting more marginalized. And every one of the big agencies were just out to get me. And I just had to develop a really hardcore mentality of these artists are going to leave, and you're playing a game against all the different agencies. The big ones are trying to eat you, the indie ones are trying to get you, and it just felt like a super competitive role. The artists were amazing creative souls, but as this place where you have very little leverage, because everybody in the service industry is pretty expendable. You just end up feeling like it's a thankless job. It's a 24/7 job. Every weekend my agency would have 30, 40, 50 bookings a weekend. Something would go wrong, only get a call when something goes wrong. So my weekends were, consistently shitting the bed, so to speak, because I didn't know what I was doing. I was kind of figuring it out as I was going. It wasn't like I went the mailroom route of William Morris and CAA, where you give your whole 20s up. And then eventually, if you make it, you've shown that you've kind of given so much of yourself to this industry. You've learned all facets. You finally get to represent artists, or have your own desk, or have your own phone line, or keep your own email, with your actual name. That wasn't interesting to me. So I decided to go outside of the system, go indie, go raw. And at 22, I signed Clips. And they were the first group I ever represented. So I had just been doing this. And with the Clips, it was almost a miracle that they signed with me. They were on the Grindin' street tour. It was a mess. I got a hold of them and they were like, yeah, if you can fix my tour, we'll sign with you. And so, my reward was, I had no idea, but my boss at the time and I, we worked all weekend, rerouting it, taking it from street clubs to, independent venues and hard ticket shows. And the tour turned around, the song took off, the album came out, Star Trek, Pharrell, it was his first group. And the album went #2 on the pop charts. So I'm now 23 representing the Clips with the #2 album on the pop charts. And then from there, I did 10 years of artist representation, represented a whole bunch of these artists that were great and really in this kind of niche of the college market. But I was always getting fired. I was always getting, somebody was making a promise to go on tour with Kanye West. And if I'm a 24-year-old kid and I need to figure out, this is my shot, I would have to listen to those options. And so we would just always be finding and losing artists. And that just became what we were, the conversation on the street. Even though we were doing amazing things, we were playing Coachella, we were doing deals with Tommy Hilfiger, we were doing Spotify's marketing in the college market and like doing all sorts of partnerships. People cared only about like who we signed and who we lost. And then sitting in meditation and like finally like catching my breath every morning intentionally, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is just like, what am I building? I'm building nothing. I'm just like an ATM machine of crazy stories, but like it's not going anywhere. And this is not going to end up for where I want to be.
So there's two things I want to touch on that because I think it's really interesting hearing you speak about the emotional toll of being fired and hired and fired and hired. And what I realized in my long journey in the industry is that moment that you understand that the firing might be coming and the anxiety kicks in and your body goes into shock, right? Like you're like, oh my God, and I've done all this. And a part of it, you're pissed, right? Part of it, like, yo, I've done everything for these guys or this artist. But part of you is also like subconsciously relief because you've also are tired of having to deal with them. But the reality at the end of the day is like this fear of if it's all gone, am I going to not be hot anymore? Am I not going to be quote unquote successful anymore? And I was talking to a friend of mine the other day because I said the hardest part of the industry, because we went to the BMI Awards and everybody was coming up and say hello. And I said, is that everybody will come up to you now and one day they'll forget that you were even around, right? That emotional toll to me is what I've told my managers always like, you have to realize when you've signed a client that you're in their life for the period or the chapter that the universe wants you in their life. And when the time is coming to an end, you have to be okay saying, hey, my time has come to an end because my journey with them has gone, but my career doesn't stop. That's the biggest fear a manager has, right? That's the biggest hole that a manager feels emotionally is, what am I after? And I could understand it because so many times it does happen where you lose the client and people stop calling you, right? People stop saying, oh, I'm going to call Jesse for, the Clips. And so therefore, all of a sudden you're back to trying to figure it out. And I've seen even the anxiety when I've led the teams in different companies that I've had, where it's like where the client leaves and everybody's like, but we got to find another one, or people are going to think, and you kick that in. Did you deal with that as part of like the journey as you were going through? Was that consistent up and down of like, am I really going to succeed? Is my success based on, this client staying with me? Am I going to be forgotten?
I wasn't necessarily worried about being forgotten because it's true as a manager, it's really hard because you're just like super in the trenches, and being a manager for a cold act or for no acts there's no money coming in.
Yeah.
An agent, you can still rub sticks together and kind of book other people's talent, get venues, get gigs, get festivals, work on brands. I was able to kind of like always create energy as an agent. But yes, the feeling that you're always going to be fired, that the biggest agents are always around the corner, that the wear and tear of what happened when you're in the trenches and you're just trying to get an artist off the ground, like is constantly in your thoughts. And it just, even if you stay on, the artist as it gets bigger is necessarily like being informed to, leverage you down. It in the beginning is so fun. You're just like this creative force creating something in the trenches. Everybody's saying thank you. It feels like family. And as the artist gets bigger, you're hiring more staff, you're taking on more infrastructure, you're trying to service this act the best you can. And there's just so many sharks in the water, and there's just so many opportunities for an artist. And like, you just gotta constantly be razzling and dazzling and delivering. And it's felt a little bit like I'm having to stand really far behind the act. And that also was tough, right? Especially early on in my career. I'm a kind of guy that has bright ideas and wants to create things and wants to be able to speak, freely about what I believe in or who I'm working with or ideas that we've manifested and made come to life. And as an agent, particularly, you never see the agent. That's like they're sitting in the back, and you're lucky if you post anything. Like a booking agent is a very, very, very thankless job in the music business. And I just felt like now with this, I can stand proudly in front of my ideas. It's not me taking 10% of an artist to do a thing. It's like, if I work with an artist, we're partners and we're creating something, or I'm bringing opportunities to artists or to agencies or to record labels or to management companies that they weren't getting before. Like, I'm free money. It's like, back as an agent, all of these agencies were trying to kill me. And like, literally, I thought my phone was tapped. Now I get Christmas cards from every single one of them. And it's like, anytime I want to go to a show, it's like, here's tickets for you, here's tickets for your client, here's tickets for your cousin. Like, what do you need? Just bring us the deals. And so I can just feel like I can sit right in front of my work. And it's scarier because, working with a hot artist is like one of the greatest joys in the world. Every door is open to you. You could get the White House on the phone like that. Like, there's nobody that's not taking your call if you're, representing a hot artist. And like, I remember going on a plane and like, when I get off the plane, my phone explodes from how many calls and emails and inquiries are coming in if an artist drops a hot single. Yeah. It was very fun. And it made me more robust in being able to handle deals, like the volume of what comes in. As a manager or agent, like, they're just chasing you all day long to bring you in opportunities and money. It's a great place to be. But it's just, like you said, it's a season and then it shifts. And it just ultimately didn't feel like what I wanted to be doing in the time. Yeah. So I changed my model, and I listened to myself and listened to my intuition and built a next chapter for myself that now 10 years in has allowed me to be a marketing maven when it comes to brands and artists. But I still keep the sensibility because I was in the trenches. Yeah. I was there with these artists, finding them, developing them, helping them build their website, helping them build their teams, helping them set up their bank accounts, helping them, buy their mom their first cars, like, buy their first pinky rings, whatever. Like, we were there making these moments happen with the work that we were doing. And I know what it's like to build those strategies and to build live brand strategies and to rub sticks together and create a tour for an artist that people, might not know about yet. And I apply that same methodology in for now what we do with brands.
What does success look like to you? Because you've done it all, right? Like, you've been an agent, you've worked with brands, you get all these things. I'm really interested in the human concept of success.
It's constantly changing. Right? Like, I'm a big note taker, and I'll write down and I'll read and I'll download and I'll think about what success means and, what my dream day looks like and what my dream life looks like. But the definition of success, it's so amorphous in this day and age. Like, today, the definition of success would be the ability to love what I'm doing every single day. And to know that even though some parts are hard or work is going to be work, that I'm doing something that has impact and that aligns with my values. I, have done the work on myself. I know what I care about is really, I think, what makes me feel successful every day.
What do you actually care about?
My values are really, my personal values are about growth, impact, relationships, and it really starts with health. I think health is the bedrock of everything: mental health, physical health, emotional health. Being and connecting to health allows you to kind of make sure your cup is filled so you can fill other people's cups. So I think I kind of work off of that pyramid, but I really want to have impact, and I really want to have good relations, and I really want to see myself growing, right? If you're not getting better a little bit every single day, you're getting worse. And the key to success that I've learned in life is compounding, and compounding in all of its forms: compounding for knowledge, compounding for health, compounding for relationships, for love, for money, for wisdom. Like all of these things a little bit better every single day. And the key to losing when it comes to compounding is stopping. As long as you just keep going on a vision, on a plan, on a career, on a mission, you will get a little better, sometimes a little worse, but overall, you will see massive growth and you will reap the benefits of your vision and your long-term thinking. So I just know that compounding and being healthy and being purposeful allows you to compound in the areas that are important to you.
What do you struggle with?
I was having a lot of trouble with focus for a long time. I was just all over the place, like a ball of energy. I think my gift from God is my energy, and that's a beautiful thing. But I also feel like it was hard to manage to some extent. And I was just very like all over the place. And like, how do you make these things come to life? I was like, my thing was I make crazy ideas come to life, but I just felt a little overwhelmed. And then I got diagnosed with ADHD last year, and I started taking some medication for it, and it just like changed things. It allowed things to really start to click into place again for me. And so I really credit the ability to harness my ADD as a superpower, but now also be able to control it in a way that the energy is impactful and focused and manageable.
You spoke about authenticity at the beginning of our chat, and I feel like that's a word that we all search for, right? That's a feeling that we all search on who we are, right? I think the human struggle and the human condition is always about, why am I here? What am I doing in this place? Do I really belong? Am I really good enough? These are all stories that we share with each other. What do you think in your personal life has been the hardest internal struggle to find, love, and accept the most authentic version of who you are?
Again, this ebbs and flows. Like, I don't believe that it's like one moment changes your life necessarily. There are those type of flashes, but I really think that like it's a combination of just chipping away and almost like life's positives and negatives come from a series of events and time. Even if you do get a break, like you know what to do with that break because of all of the work you've done. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that'll always get in the way. So it's not like I could say today what's blocking me versus last month, last year. I think it's really about kind of understanding that, like, and this is something, one of my mantras, or like one of the things I write in the first page of my notebook that reminds me every day of like the things, of this season, is what's stressing me out right now, today, will probably not be the stress for me tomorrow or next week. This too will pass. And so it just reminds me that like I'm annoyed right now that like the economy's being tanked and there's these macro problems and it's hard to kind of call what's happening in government and the administration and like yeah, that's a stressful day when like the stock market feels like it's getting crushed, but that too will pass. And the thing that really keeps me positive is that I believe that the future, that tomorrow could be better than today because of the learnings and because of the work and because of, even if we failed, the lessons that we learned from those failures. So the future always looks brighter for someone that's playing a long game. And so I always feel like the future looks brighter today than tomorrow or tomorrow than today. And that just allows me to feel like everything is a lesson and a blessing as long as you're open to learning from that. The stresses of today will be gone, but the lessons of today will be implied for tomorrow.
Why do you think the external things that are going on in the country and other things affect you so much to the point that they give you stress, or they gave you stress, let's say today?
It's so many reasons. I mean, on a macro level, like on a micro level, how was my day? I'm in Miami. Like I woke up, the sun was shining. I looked at the ocean. It's a beautiful life. But when you look at the kind of bigger picture of what's out of our control, but what's happening in the world, it's concerning.
It's interesting because I feel like I struggled before with that, right? I grew up in an environment, or especially in our business, where most of my mentors, the way that they taught me about success and about life was like, take the bulls by the horn and everything matters. Everything matters. Every situation, everything that's going on in the country, everything that's going on in your business, like everything matters that much that your energy drained, right? And what I've realized in this new stage of my life is the complete opposite. None of it actually matters. And what I mean by that is I realize that my intention to allow outside things to affect me is completely a decision. It's not by default. It's not by just, it's just coming into my mind because it's the way of the world and that's how it flows. No, I am deciding to be stressed about the world. I am deciding to put my trust and believe that I will be okay on how good the economy is doing, or how good the stock market is doing, or how good the news are doing, or how good my clients are doing. And so therefore, the roller coaster that I jump on, or that I was jumping on, was completely based on things that I don't control. And so my days depended on things that I don't control. And I realized that there was no healthy way to live like that. There was no positive way to find true internal happiness when the word happiness, or the joy in my life, or the compounding news in my life were so out of my control that the idea of me honing in and driving the seat all the time was a faulty one at best, right? And what I started to do, and I want to talk to you about the work too, but what my work started to show me was what that meditation showed you in the transition of your career, which was we're better set, and our intention in life is to be still enough to listen and then courageous enough to act, which you talked about in that area, right? It's like your meditation led you to have clarity in a decision, but then it took the courage to act, right? Because a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just going to meditate. I'm going to move to a Buddhist temple and I'm just going to do. No. The meditation of the pause and the understanding that the fear and all these things are just stories, are just narratives that we're feeding ourselves. So if we can control that narrative in our minds, if we can check ourselves and have authenticity, meaning that you completely understand that, at least to me, that it's your internal. Everything is just a perspective. It's just how you're taking it in. The problem is our world has taught us that what we take in is law. So we want people to follow our law, right? As leaders, even like, this is my law. But it's all perspective. It's just ideas, especially in our business. Everything is just an idea. This is not right or wrong. It's just an idea. And so what I've learned through my work has been, okay, so my job is to be still enough to listen and then courageous enough to act. But the in-between, the figuring it out part, that's the universe part. That's the part that I have zero control. And in trying to obtain control, I am essentially trying to do the universe's job. And therefore, my body goes into contraction, whether that contraction is fear, whether that contraction is stress, whether that contraction is worry, whether that contraction is the idea and the story that the world's economy will affect me to a place where I'm not okay. Someone told me the other day, you either trust in God or you don't. And there was no gray area. The gray area is where you lose sight of the reality of who you are. The trust is the complete let go of the surroundings. Now, we're business people, right? We pay attention to the economy and we make decisions based on these things. We make decisions based on how much revenue our companies are making. So it's not removing the idea of doing something, it's removing the idea that if I don't, I'm not going to be okay. It's removing the idea that if I don't panic and don't feel stress and don't feel worry, then I'm not going to be okay. And what I found in my work is that the more that I check myself when my body's in contraction, the more I compound joyful moments of happiness, because the stories I told myself start to become diminished, or they're put on check a lot quicker. I don't spend my whole day on the subject. I spend 10 minutes on it. I check myself. I say, whoa, I realized my body's in shock, because I'm learning to listen to my body, right? Back to the health point. I'm learning to listen to when my body tingles or my hands shake, or when I'm about to text somebody and you're feeling that anger, or where your chin, I'm famous for, like, when I'm typing, I'm doing this, right? Learning how to let go. As I've processed this information and what we're doing, it's also allowed me to look at the reality of the humans around me as a leader and know that we're just all people hurting, trying to decipher purpose. But we're in a society and we're in a world that feeds us the complete opposite. And so one of the things I would love your point of view on, because you're a marketeer, because you work in brands, is the power and the idea that consumption brings happiness, right? Like, one of the things most brands, every brand that hires you is like, we want this artist and we want this because we want to sell more product. But we want to use the artist's emotional influence, because that's what they're using. They're using the emotional influence the artist has and those strings that they have with their consumer to tell a story that you need more Coca-Cola in your life, or you need more Red Bull, or do you find that a large part of what makes you, your staff, the audience that you speak to, be in this inner rat race and struggle is the fact that we're sitting in a place in society where we're being fed narrative all the time. And very few of that narrative is the authenticity. Most of that narrative is like, you need AI, you need this, you're not going to be happy if you don't do this. What's your POV on that?
Well, first of all, what you're saying is beautiful, and we should bottle that up and sell it, because talk about making the world a better place through a product. What you're referring to is something I think everybody would love to ingest and embody. So keep going on that path. When it comes to a partnership, like I just did a chocolate milk with Nesquik and DJ Khaled. We're in 14,000 stores. We launched an original flavor. It's in Walmart, it's in Kruger's, it's in Public, it's in 7-Eleven. I look at it and sometimes I'm like, the deal, the art of the deal. How do we get this thing over the edge with Khaled? And how do we get, Nestle to buy in? And Nestle's never done anything in music. What does that all look like? How do we get everybody to make the deliverables happen? Khaled's, got to do his part. And then I realize we're not just selling chocolate milk. This is a much bigger purpose. When I hear that how many millions of people are drinking this or touching this or seeing this or affected by this, and how it's touching a guy like DJ Khaled, who's just a beacon of influence and inspiration to so many, and how Nestle is adjusting how they approach, an Austrian company, how they approach musicians and doing their first deal ever with Nesquik and a musician. This has so much more impact than like the concerns of the day to day of, is this going to sell? Is this going to look good? Are people going to be happy? He doesn't want to wear these pair of shoes, but we shot him in these pair of shoes. What, like, I'm making those things up, but the details of this don't necessarily matter. They matter. Everything matters, but the impact is so much higher and bigger in everything. Even doing a talk like this, it's like there's the thing, and then there's the actual effect, the ripple. And so I try to remind myself that my intention and my purpose, is to shine my light on ideas, to use my energy to amplify concepts, thoughts, artists that I believe in, brands that I love or think, or executives that I think the world needs to see and talk about and to understand better. And a lot of what I'm doing, if you look at it as like, this artist played this show and that's what it was, they played that college, cool. But that's actually not what happens. Like when Will Smith plays a show in Philadelphia, everything said and done, it's like a transaction, but it's not. Those 300 people are blown away from this intimate experience with an icon, and Will Smith becomes inspired and he puts more pep in his step and he helps a person and changes their life. Music could be looked at like it's not rocket science, or it's just music, bro. And it can allow me to kind of like calm down. But I also think that what we're doing has so much more impact and affects so many people in such a great way if we do this the right way. And it's why I think these artists and us as executives have a big responsibility. I also think that having a little bit of edge and a little bit of intention helps. Like when you say how like you just let it go, do you think like that would have been, you came up as this super successful prodigy in the space, like breaking in this industry super early. Do you think that this kind of evolved mentality would have helped back then?
I realized that there's a very big difference between pain and suffering. Pain you feel, suffering you choose. And while I think that the pain, meaning the hardships, the going through the hard times, the figuring out the hard times so we can get into a point, all those things were still needed in the drive to become and do the things that I did, right? Like now understanding you still need the courage, right? Like the universe doesn't just go, oh, here you go, Lex and Jesse, we're going to give you $1 million in the lotto. Like it's, at least not for me.
Right.
So, but the suffering is the part that I think I didn't need. The suffering is what I'm learning to let go of. The feeling, because I can tell by the way that you and I are identical in the way that we drive and love the creation of something that has not been done. The project part of it is what excites us even more than the money. I don't count the dollars. I count, oh my God, I get to do this and I get to put DJ Khaled on Miami, and then Miami Sound Machine comes out and Will Talia and everybody does that part. But what I realized was that I was suffering in doing it, because in the process, I approached the things that were coming up as pain, as mountains that I had to climb. And then the fear kicked in. Then it was like, if this doesn't go, and subconsciously, it's like, if this doesn't happen exactly how it's supposed to, my self-worth is hurt. Because then my idea didn't come, and then people are going to say that I couldn't pull that off. Or if this doesn't happen, I'm going to disappoint, DJ Khaled or whatever client, Tiny, and he's going to consider next time not using my company or the agency or the thought. And then I suffer going up the mountain. I suffer coming down the mountain. I suffer getting the championship trophy. And then the championship trophy is given to me. I put it on the thing and I don't even celebrate it, because it wasn't the pain. It was the suffering that made it so that it was so once you got it, yeah, you clapped, you went home and you're on to the next thing because you didn't even get to value the pain. You didn't even get to learn the full lesson because the suffering didn't allow you to have clarity in what it is. So what I'm trying to release now, and this is daily work for me. This is no one has ever arrived. Let's just be clear with that. This podcast is about the fact that all of us are going through this inner struggle, and I'm sitting in the same inner struggle as so many other people in multiple things of my life. One of those being the specific thing that you and I share, which is like this driven passion to also, not be the guy sitting all the way in the corner as the agent or the manager, but being, okay, we are creatives. We are respected. Our ideas are gold. That is our God-given talent. That's what our purpose is. But how do I take the suffering out of this? Because the suffering takes the health away. The suffering doesn't compound the moments of joy and happiness. The suffering leaves memories that, as good as those memories could be, when I think back to them, in the moment, I didn't enjoy them.
God, you're such a healthy leader, right? Like I always used to think, and Seth Godin wrote his book recently on strategy, you have to have a chip loose to be as successful as you can. Like to be a leader like Steve Jobs, you have to be driven from hurt and like just a barracuda of like willing to put everything out there. The chip on your shoulder is going to put, chips in the bank. And it's not a great way to live, like in an evolved world where we all get more conscious. Like the way you're talking about it is, I think, what everybody wants to feel. And yeah, there's magic. Like I'm struggling with I want to feel good. And there's a lot of growth in the edges and pushing the limits and going outside of your comfort zone. You're not going to get ripped like just doing a very basic workout every single day feeling good. No, you got to go hard occasionally. You got to push yourself beyond your comfort zone. But it feels good because it's calculated and it's a smart risk and you're not suffering and you're not nervous. But how you do this, you're doing it in such a healthy way. Like if you just say it flippantly, it sounds sociopathic or it sounds like stoic, but like, I don't know how to do that, like stoicism on that level. But the way you're explaining it is a school of thought that a lot of people can benefit from.
I think it's also, talking about working out. I think a lot of times when people hear, us or other thought leaders talk about, the inner health and the inner change, they say, oh yeah, well, that's easy for you to say. You don't have to worry about your, whatever, the food on your table, or that you say that because you got to success, but like the drive, to your point, to your question, the drive to get there. And what I realized was the working out and getting ripped and going faster is not the problem. It all stems with the why you want to do it. Do you want to do it because the working out and getting sexy gives you self-confidence because you feel that if you don't have value? Then the real thing that life is trying to show you, and that will continue to put you in a position to show you, is that the beauty will create more insecurity. I realized in dating throughout my career, being able to be around women that are considered very beautiful to the outside world, the majority of them suffer from insecurity. The majority of my friends that are extremely successful financially suffer from insecurity and fear of failure, because the value is placed on, oh, well, I'm so hot that's my value. And the really is that I'm trying to get my image out there. I'm trying to be really beautiful. I'm trying the world to give me claps and likes because my self-confidence is back that. And so when a girl who's really beautiful posts a picture and it doesn't get enough likes, body goes into shock, right? When a successful person, like when you think about success, you can have wealth, you could be good at what you're doing, but then you lose an award or you lose a client. And it's like, wait a second, but losing that client, maybe it could have meant some more money, but the reality is you're good. If you check today you're not going broke. Today you're good. But you went into shock because the value of it wasn't just the monetary, especially when you're building business. It's what that actually means to the outside world, especially when you're really, really successful. That's why these guys need the power beyond the money.
Yeah, and look, it's so case by case, right? Like humans are all so different when you look at it because, like, to me, that's not the driver or the fear. Like, I could see it being, and sometimes whatever's going to motivate you to stay fit, right? Like, I do have a little bit of a mantra. It's like never let yourself go professionally or personally, but the value is not in that. Like the value is in how you feel, how the people around you feel,
Yeah.
how you make people, and you help people. And so, I think, look, people are different, and I'm sure there's folks out there that are hot as hell and willing to do anything to stay there, because if they're not, then what are they? But that's not necessarily healthy because, like, like I know that you can't stay hot in this business forever unless you've got the sharpest sharpest elbows in the freaking planet. Like you could do it if you're, willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a healthier mentality to just kind of understand that what we do isn't who we are, and our wins are great and they feel good, especially when you can put your mind and soul into something and achieve it. But it's not the defining thing about who you are or what you really mean to the people that are important to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point, the human experience is very unique to each person. And it's why I think that for me, the mantras that are really helped me stay within my course of not the suffering, right? For me, it's really been understanding that everything that I'm intaking is going through the filter of my perspective, of my trauma, my fear, the lessons I've been taught.
It's so important.
But it's just perspective.
It's your most valuable, it's all of our most valuable trait.
Yeah.
It's our POV.
Yeah.
And our POV is fed by all of our experiences.
But that POV can also fail you. But I also understood in that process how much of our being is controlled, encouraged, driven by fear. What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of that I've peaked, that this is as good as it's going to get. Like that tomorrow I'll step on something and that will lead to a downfall of the glory of what today is. The concern for me, what keeps me up at night is like with anything is like, it was so good today. I got so much juice out of the orange, but tomorrow the tree's going to be dried up. You just don't want to feel that. You want to feel alignment. You want to feel abundance. And when I don't, that's when you get to a scarcity mindset. That's where you get feeling like a little shaky. A little bit of the confidence is gone. And that's not where I want to be. And so if you just remember that, like, we're in this together and it's not about me growing. Like when I look at the music business, I say, and my mentality, especially when it comes to brands, trusting music as the vehicle, because we've got competition. This influencer world is like, they can guarantee you impressions. Like these influencer companies can do things that I can't when it comes to music marketing. So as many people as I can get telling good stories with music and brands, success stories, then the better the pie grows. So it's almost like a mentality where I want as many winners in this space as possible, because then we grow the pie versus me growing my slice of the pie less interesting. So I am scared that Kanye's going to fuck up the whole thing for all of us. Diddy's gonna ruin it, and we're not gonna be able to do music and brand deals anymore, and there's gonna be a safer bet to bet on robots, or that Trump's gonna tank the economy, and like this is it, the end of the reign, and the dynasty's over, and it was good while we had it, but now it's going to be a new world order, and we're going to be at war for the rest of our lives. Like those type of things scare me, and they're out of my control to some extent. Some of them are in my control. I really believe that like we have to do everything we can. You can't just let both of us, I'm sure, are going to work until 10, 11 o'clock and then wake up in the morning and do it again. And the reason why we're successful is not because, we do self-work, we do a lot of things, but it's because we work our asses off, right? And like we know that we're going to be, as the owners of our companies, we're going to be responsible, and we're going to go get it, and we're going to do whatever it takes for us to be able to deliver, to succeed in whatever our vision is to succeed. So I think it's like, I personally feel good about feeling a little nervous. Like, I don't know, maybe it's the Jewish side in me where like, we grew up just being nervous, but like, if I'm not nervous before an event, like, then we're fucked because I'm cocky and I'm too flowy. Like, it's better when we do a project if I'm like a little nervous, because it means that I'm going to put extra caution and extra care into the awareness. So I kind of have my own mentality with it. Like I had therapy today, and my therapist and I kind of like came to this mentality of to be okay with the uncomfortable, to learn to love the uncomfortable, because the uncomfortable is where the growth is. It's that push and pull of like, I'm going to have to freaking go outside of my comfort zone, but I'm also going to have to like be comfortable in that space in order to create at my best.
I speak about that on this podcast consistently. The biggest transformative lesson of my life over the past 2 years has been the understanding that the idea that we have to run to the light at the end of the tunnel is wrong. The idea is we have to feel comfortable in the fire and the darkness, because in it is the lesson. And what my life lessons has taught me in my experience as I put this into practice, because I'm a very practical guy with everything. Every idea, every thought, every religious idea, every spiritual idea, every inner working idea, every medicine idea is like, yeah, all that sounds amazing, buddy. Good things for the fluff. If I can't put it into practice today, it ain't for me. And that was one of the teachings I learned. And I said, just like you in therapy, I was like, okay, let's go put this into practice. And I looked at my life and I said, these are 3 pain points for me. There are 3 places that I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to lean in. I'm going to sit in the fire. I'm going to push myself further deeper into the pain instead of trying to get away from that person or that situation, that thing. And what I saw on the other end was that I learned the lesson. That was the goal. The goal was I learned the lesson. It transformed the things that I was asking for. I was sharing with one of the other guests that scene from Bruce Almighty where Morgan Freeman says, you ask God for patience and God gives you an opportunity to be patient. And that's what it is. It's like you ask God for blank, but in order to do that, you got to sit in the fire, because the only way you're doing it is reflecting on the fact that that part of you needs work and not running away from the lesson, which we love to do, right? We love to be like, that's hard. That person makes me uncomfortable, or this situation makes me, I'm out. See you. I always say that as a leader, I find that most of the people that have quit in my business, they quit because they'd rather quit than have a hard conversation. They'd rather not grow and learn the lesson and stay in a place that is like watering their plants, because it's easier to say I'm gone than have a hard conversation. Most of the people that have left the company have always been over not having one hard conversation, of not asking something, of not dealing with the problem the right way. It's never been like, oh, I'm leaving, I have a better opportunity. It's like, oh, I'm in struggle, I'm hard, and I'd rather leave.
And it's so human to want that. It's so like, doesn't it feel good to just walk away, but it's just leaning into the pain.
Yeah.
is where the glory is. It's where the treasure is. It's where the growth sits. But how did you know to lean into it? How do you know when to walk away versus when to run into the fire? Or is it just you go to every hard thing and you just like try to unfuck the hard thing?
Historically, no. Historically, I will feel uncomfortable, I run. So I was historically very much an architect, where it was like, I'd be really amazing at running a project. The moment the project became like hard, because as you know, as an entrepreneur, building the business is fun. Once you like now a settled business and you've now hit that plateau and now you have to like maintain and people manage and go fight for every client, that's when you become a CEO. And that's the hard part. Historically, the moment I reached that, I was like, I'm out. This feels uncomfortable. I don't want to do, I'm out. In my relationships, oh, the whole romantic part of the beginning, amazing love. I'm the best boyfriend. That's the best girlfriend. The moment things got hard, I'm out. Like the moment that it's like, oh, well, this has now become commitment. This has now, I have to deal with the person's bad attitude and things because it's part of being with someone else. I'm out. I'm going to go find the next thing. And then I have the therapy session like you did today. And I said, okay, the understanding that life is school. So everything that happens in my life is teaching me something. The understanding that the universe is in divine order, my mind is not. Meaning my soul chose my life exactly what it is because it needed to learn something. Everything that happens to me is a lesson. So me running away from this, if this person wouldn't have been in my life, if I didn't have a lesson to learn, the universe wouldn't have allowed me to get to this point in my business if I didn't have a lesson to learn. The universe wouldn't have allowed the economy to hit the point that it's hitting if I didn't have a lesson to learn. So, creator, what is the lesson? And I'm going to sit in this fire until somebody takes me out or until you turn this freaking fire off, because I choose to learn the lesson now so that I don't have to go and suffer years and years to learn that same lesson. Because I'm going to learn it one way or the other. By the way, that is the rule of life, is you are going to learn this lesson no matter what you think, feel, no escaping it. Now you learn it like this, or you learn it with more fire, or you learn it until the freaking thing is completely on fire, or you learn it where there's an atomic bomb and your whole life goes to shit. But you're going to learn the lesson. So that was okay, I'm going to take my therapy session. I'm going to put it into practice because the other way has gotten me a lot worse results. So I'm going to try this way. And then I saw it work on one thing, on the next thing, on the next thing. And I was like when you go to the gym and you start getting a little 1-pack and you're like, ooh, 2-pack. Ooh, and then you get the 4 and you're like, yeah, I'm in the game. That's what happened. I'm in the game. I'm like, this is the way to go. And I am going to face that fear. It's just a story I'm telling myself. That whatever that is. And it honestly has been transformative that's been the most transformative of the internal work. And it started with the therapy session.
How long ago did you learn this?
A year ago.
A year?
Just a year ago.
Don't you feel like reborn?
Oh, bro.
Like what? Now everything is a teaching and a growth moment.
Yeah.
And you just sit in it.
Yeah. And I explain to people, like, again, when people hear this sometimes, they admire us for going through it. And I think there is something admirable about sitting in the fire, right? Like, just like when you see people sit in a cold plunge for all day. But what I always say is the difference is not that I stop facing these fears and these things. The difference is that I can be aware of them. I am now watching my experience. I am watching it from the outside and say, oh, okay, wait. Something happened here that I'm in contraction. What's the lesson? And now I've learned that my body does this, or the stress goes this, or I'm this, or I'm doing this. Oh God, what a day. Oh, whoa. That's my filter. So what's going on here? Something's there. Or like, and that person was hella annoying. Why did that person annoy me? What was it about them that irks me? And then I start doing internal work. I'm like, okay, so what is that? Have I felt that before in my life? Oh, okay, wait a second. I felt that. this other day, or I felt that last year with this other person. Why? Oh, that comment they made triggered fear. It triggered the inner me that says, oh, you're not good enough. So I felt like I have to pump my chest up in front of that person. That's why they know me. I don't want them around me because they challenge my inner worth. No, bring that person back. And I'm going to bring that person around until I'm not feeling this anymore, because I need to be triggered in order to understand that needs work. Those little subtle changes in the way that I've been processing information, while I don't get them right all the time, sometimes I don't want to see the person because I'm offended. Wow, I see the transformation. Oh, I see the change. All of a sudden, a person I didn't like, I'm like, hey, I can actually hang out with you. Me and you could be friends, you know? And it's interesting. And you start noticing in how people react. You start noticing as a leader how your staff acts in a meeting all of a sudden when something super simple was said, but they're completely triggered or completely blocked. Fear kicks in. And then you can deal with it. You say, oh, whoa. You know, you have an enemy mentality. You think everybody's trying to get you. Have you felt that before? Where? How about 10 years ago? Have you felt that 10 years ago in your life? How about when you were a kid? Did you feel that? Do you feel like everyone's out to get you? And you start realizing that people have these traumas. We all do as humans, from things that happened that we didn't even realize created that scar, and that scar or that lesson or that healing. And we've been noticing it for many years, but we either didn't have the capacity or didn't have the conversation or didn't have therapy to be able to say, hey, lean in. And that if I could say one thing that's changed my life, has been that. It's changed my emotional life completely.
Do you feel like it's a struggle every day to tap into that feeling? Like, do
Yeah.
you, like, tomorrow you're on a plane and then you're with an artist and then you're sold out a show and then you've got a phone call rings and it's, you know, your partner, Tommy Mottola, and he wants you to come meet him at Rayos. And it's like, we're back, baby. This is the life. And then you fall into your old habits or you're moving so fast. You know what it's like when
Yeah.
the dice are hot, like you become the super villain version of yourself. How do you every single day stay in that place where I'm that conscious of how I'm feeling versus letting the momentum of this day take you?
I've come to realize my brain is a computer. And in order to keep my brain functioning well, there's a couple of things that you learn to do by yourself, which is like, if we put that into a computer world, maybe you know how to send an email, put an Excel sheet. That's what you know. That's as far as my computer skills go. That's like you and I being able to, by ourselves, read a book, watch a podcast. That's the self-work. Then there's things that you need to call your friend. You got to be like, hey, yo, Lex, do you know how to split the screen? Like, this happened to me today. I was like, I've seen it on the recaps of the new Mac that you could split the screen. I need to split the screen because I'm writing this document, this email. So I called my assistant and they split the screen. So that's this.
Yeah.
That's you and I being able to have this conversation. That's community. That's being able to say, okay, great. I have this person here. We're having the same amount of energy and conversation about this. I'm reminded by the conversation. And then there's times where your computer decides to kick the shit and you need a Google, Facebook level programmer. And to me, that's medicine, right? That's psychedelics, that's what is ayahuasca, that's other things. Sometimes that's religious work, but I think all those things combined allow you to start building patterns where you start understanding your brain, or you start understanding how it reacts. You start being able to call out those things. So I fall into those things every day, right? Like, again, as a heavy project manager creative, you want everything to be perfect. So I'll be planning something for an artist and it's like, the promo has to say this and we have to do this. And then I realized I was like, I can plan it all and it can still fail. So while I can put the things in place, I'm going to release the suffering. And I'm going to say, cool, look, we did the plays. Everybody's done their job to do as much as possible, but I could do all this and the album could still fail. So how about we just take the pressure off? Everybody take a second, do what it is, intake the information, and then just kind of like be like, hey, you want to do it? You don't want to do it? Brother, I'm gonna let that go.
But you know that every detail matters, and you know that you've got to put everything into this, and like it's not easy to.
The forced energy has shown me that the universe will teach you the lesson. So I planned everything. Tiny's concert in El Choliseo. I planned everything. I needed the screens to go up in the perfect time. I need this, I need this. I need the transitions to be flawless. After hours of practicing, after hours of it being correct, the machine breaks and the thing goes. Or my idea of how it goes, Tiny goes on one tie. He spoke on the mic internally to the earpieces. Hey, do not put back the screen. And I was like, but I worked so hard on this particular part because he didn't want it. Okay. So what did I get at overstressing over the details when the multitude of things that could happen is that? So again, it doesn't mean the irresponsibility of not looking out. You put the list together, you put them. You just release the suffering of it. Because the pain still needs to happen. You want to work on your body, you got to put that muscle and it's going to hurt you. But you don't have to suffer.
I love it.
And so that's really been a super transformative. But
I think sometimes you've got to convince the artist or the partner that what's best for them.
For
like
sure.
Sometimes you need to, as the CEO, quarterback, manager, executive producer, you've got to protect the integrity of the result. And sometimes that requires, putting yourself out there and, taking the chance, taking the shot, changing the direction the wind's blowing to be able to get the outcome that you want. Like those aren't easy moments.
Yeah.
But
you need the pain. The pain needs to happen. By the way, you can't grow a muscle without the pain. The stretching needs to happen. The breaking up of the fibers has to happen. Like, let's just be clear. You can't get to a Super Bowl without getting a couple injuries. The pain has to happen. It's just the mental suffering that I'm learning to let go of. Not the pain. The pain I want, because I'm a doer. I'm like you. I want to conquer the world. I got bright ideas and things that I believe God placed me in this world to do. I just don't want to suffer through it. And that's been the breakthrough.
They need to give you a church, a TED Talk, a book deal, a podcast.
Amen to all that. And it's funny. Look, I just catch myself, right? You saying all those things triggers an insecurity in me. It triggered I'm accepting that, but I'm not completely receiving that because it triggered my insecurity. But what if you become all that and you failed? Like it triggered it right away. My body, like it wasn't like, you're right, it should be a podcast. I should get up at church. And I was like, yeah. Literally, like in practice, just happened. It triggered my insecurity. My body got chills.
Yeah.
Because you triggered my lack of accepting that all the things you're saying is the things that should happen. I am that, like, I believe I have a message to say to the world, but my inner child feels like he's not good enough still. So it got triggered.
So what do you do there?
Just exactly what I'm doing right now. Reminding myself, no, you're 100% right.
You're on the
Let
path.
me bring that energy in and say, yes to a podcast, yes to a book, yes to a TV show, yes to a church, yes to all this. Amazing. Let's take that, right? And with that, because I feel like we got to do part 2 because I love talking to you because you're so much I like. And the audience doesn't know this, but we just met. Like in like as far as actually conversating and having real conversation, we just met. And so I love it because so much of what you've said today, so much of the things that you look at the world and how you talk. And I was even sitting myself back and saying, wow, like when I speak on podcasts, people must feel like how I'm feeling now. Like you're just completely locked in. Like, because I'm locked in. Your energy just sucked the air out of the room. And it's like, I am focused on you, which it doesn't happen very often for people like us because our brain is going all the time. So I loved our conversation. And I always end our podcast with the idea that you versus you is the biggest battle you're fighting. And part of that battle is the understanding of the power of words. If I come here and I say, Jesse, I love you, and I give you a hug and I look at you, you will feel that. If I come here and I give you something negative or someone texts you, you feel that too. And what I've realized is that we're a lot kinder to the outside world than we are to ourselves. So I end the podcast always with, what is one word or one sentence you can tell yourself right now that will transform how the rest of your week goes?
Stay the course. You've got a plan. You've got a vision. You spent a lot of time working on it. You're manifesting it every single day. The outside factors that you can't control will come and go. They will pass. But what you're meant to do is happening. And even if you don't see it in this minute, don't worry about how you feel. Worry about how the reality is actually taking shape. So the advice to me goes back to what I think like the key to success is, which is
But
compounding.
let that sit in. Just let the words you just said sink into yourself. Because we've shared with with the audience success. We shared. This is a moment for you. This is a moment of internal speech.
Stay the course.
Stay the course. For me, accept the blessing. This moment of just having this conversation with you and you saying the thing allowed me to understand how so afraid of that blessing. It's like, accept the blessing. Accept the blessing. Accept the blessing.
I'm focused and I'm loving this.
Love it.
This is a dream come true to meet you on a stage
same.
like this. We share an office building. We're down the hall from each other for a year now. I've wanted to meet you.
Wait,
for the longest.
You're in the same building?
I'm on the same floor.
What? I didn't know that.
And I had been wanting to meet you for years now.
Wow.
And a mutual friend, Javier, put me in touch, reconnected
Wow.
me with Nelly, who's amazing. And we'd been friends for a decade, but we lost her, couldn't find her. And it turns out she's here with you. And she puts us together on this stage. And in so many ways, I'm beyond inspired by what you're saying today. And I'm connecting with Miami greatness, music business greatness. And I just feel like this is exactly what I wanted when I set out to do what I'm doing. And this is beautiful.
Thanks, Jesse. Divine order. I did not know you were down the hall, but divine order. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode.
Thank you for having me. And we didn't even get into like so much more. I mean,
no, episode 2 coming for sure.
I ran into
For sure.
Tommy Mottola in Memorial Day weekend. Randomly, him and Talia at a bed and breakfast at a spot upstate New York, and they were telling me we got an office in Midtown. And little did I know that he also was telling us that we had to meet.
Crazy. That's crazy. Divine order. Thank you, buddy.
This is amazing. Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in to You Versus You. Please subscribe, like, and share as we build this community and we help each other to live the life of our dreams.